Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing and Camper Kings UK.
Hello everyone, welcome to Across the Park podcast. Myself, Gary Judge, supported this week by Mick from A View from the Bullens. How you doing, Mick?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing, guys? You all right?
Right, Mick.
Super.
Right, Mick.
Appreciate Mick stepping in. Millsy had a bit of an emergency last minute, so appreciate Mick from A View from the Bullens stepping in on the blue side. On the other side of the screen there, we've got Gary and Phil representing the red side. I apologise to the Reds there. I'm just looking at the setup. I haven't even got, there you go, a little bit of red in there now. So again, as always, on our first show of the week, we're a little bit late putting this first show out because of the way the games fell. Obviously, the Blues, we played on Monday, and the Reds played in the Champions League last night. So we'll kick off our show by previewing Liverpool's game at the weekend. Who did you even play? It was that long ago?
At the weekend? Bloody hell. We've played 3 times in the last 8 days, starting with the derby. And then
You're trying to buy time here because you don't even know you played weekends. Gary, do you want to step in?
It's all time for money.
This is really awkward. So we'll give the Reds a moment to try and think about who they played at the weekend, because we'll be reviewing their game at the weekend as well as their Champions League fixture. We'll be looking back at Everton's long-awaited victory at Goodison, which was a great night. Both ourselves and A View from the Bullens, Mick, we both reacted to that in our own ways, but we'll just be briefly going over that. We'll then be previewing the upcoming games this week. Do you know who's playing this week, lads, or are we going to have to bail you out on that one?
Definitely know when Gerrard's coming back.
Okay, well, Everton travel to Crystal Palace, and as Gary just said, then Liverpool will be welcoming Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa to Anfield. Okay, so do you want to start with us, lads, or you just know who's played the weekend?
We are Wolves.
Okay, well, I'll give it a moment to just go over the last 2 games. You can briefly summarise the Champions League. I've got a few comments. I know we had a question, I think, on that one as well, Gary, weren't we? A comment from one of our listeners about Jason Kunze on TalkSport. But we'll kick off with your last fixture away at
Wolves.
Wolves, there you go. I remember now, we watched it in our Christmas party, didn't we?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, we'd had a few. We were at a legitimate Christmas party that we admit to having, and it wasn't cheese and wine.
Wasn't it? I had some cheese and wine. You must have missed that bit.
But no, I think it was a game that we didn't look like scoring in, but with a better side, and it was a bit worrying because Chelsea had dropped points, and you're thinking, this is where Liverpool, or this season, we can never seem to follow up when our rivals are dropping points.
Yeah, how many times does that happen? When the teams around us drop points and it's a chance to capitalise, and then you drop points yourself. It's so frustrating, and as you said, it looks like it was going to be one of them days again. And just for King Divock.
Yeah, come with the hour, come with the man, big goals, and Divock. He's reached the status where I haven't got any kids, but if I had a son coming up in the future, you're talking middle name status there. He's getting there.
It's good job you're never going to have kids, Phil.
No, but I think we'll move on to the more recent game in the Champions League. And, you've got to be made up with that, Gary, haven't you? We've took 4 points from the group of death. I think 18 points out of 18, and we've played a B team. No 2 ways about it. Okay, Salah and Mane have played, but apart from that, I don't think anyone else gets in the first 11. And I think compliments
the goalie.
Compliments to Klopp though, because one thing I noticed about Liverpool defensively and in the press was that we looked incredibly well drilled. It looked like a team who played together all the time, even just the way they were catching people offside, stepping out and all that. A very, very well-drilled, well-oiled machine that was last night.
It's what I took from it, to be fair. It was one of them where you do look at the team and you think, Milan need to get points from this game. They need to really win, just to keep them alive in Europe, never mind the Champions League, just to try and get into the Europa League as well, if the other results didn't go their way. So you're thinking, we could be in a bit of danger there. But yeah, as you said, every player there stepped in, done exactly what you need them to do when they step into the team, and we didn't look like a B team. That's what was so good about it. And another little shout out to the young lad in midfield, Tyler Morton. What a start to his career he's having at Liverpool. Whenever he's called upon, he's just slots right in. He don't even know it's a kid playing.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't notice much of him, but that's exactly your point, isn't it? He doesn't stand out. He just slots in and does the job. And Williams at right back as well. He's worth a shout because people were starting to think, oh, he hasn't got what it takes, Williams. He had a bad game and then he has a few bad games and that. But that looks behind. I think.
Yeah, I think for Williams, for me, it's going to be a case of next time he does sort of go have a little bit of a ropey game or makes a mistake or something like that, how he responds to that. Because, as you said, he had one bad game and then he followed that up again with another bad game, and then he went through a bit of a patch where Klopp ends up just taking him off the limelight, and he has been completely gone for a while. Now he's getting introduced again here and there. He does seem to have turned the corner and he does seem to be putting good performances in again, but it's just when the chips are down, can he stand up and face it again? And that's what you're waiting to see from him, really.
Gary, do you know we've got as many points in the Champions League?
Yeah, I do. Don't even think we need to finish that sentence because they all know.
We don't play against 40-year-olds in the Premier League, that's why.
Listen, Atletico didn't beat them, did they? I think Atletico got a draw or even possibly got beat by AC Milan. So, and they're champions-elect in Italy. So they're not that bad. They're not like that bad of a team. But obviously they're not what they used to be. And you take it with a pinch of salt, but it was our B team. It does show the strength in depth. And I think it shows that Liverpool are ready to do special things this season, Gary. I mean, I think what Klopp needs...
Phil, just while you're on that, it's probably worth... We had a question today or a comment from a listener. It's come via our website. Who was it, Gary?
It was from Jay Parr. He said, can the Reds talk about Jason Cundy's comments once again playing down a great night last night? There's a line of idiot and presenter, and he's on the idiot side.
Do you want me to give you a bit of context, Phil, as to what was said?
I can imagine because I listen a lot, but yeah, I haven't heard it, so go on. Yeah,
so basically he was saying the standard of European teams has just gone right down the pot and right down the pan, sorry. He did credit Liverpool. I think Jay Parr may have listened to a small section of the show and missed some of it. He did say, look, Liverpool played the B team. Imagine how good Liverpool can be in that competition when they play the full strength side. But he was basically making the point that, the level of some of the European clubs, like, AC Milan, for instance, who are near the top of Serie A, and in general, some of the leagues has massively dropped. And it's disappointing when you've got games like that where Liverpool are playing a second string side and Milan can't even keep up with them.
I know. I think I don't know if that's taken sort of a bit too much away though, because like when AC Milan were a great side winning Everton, it wasn't fair to say, yeah, but the English sides are crap, because all the best players are at Liverpool, are at City, are at Chelsea, are at United. So because we're so good, that's why they're not. If you get me, because the players are here and they're not there. You can't. It takes something away, but it's all right in hindsight. Up front, everyone was saying it was the group of death. It was such a hard group to get out of. We go and take 18 points out of 18, and all of a sudden, it was a weak group, and all that. So.
That's it. The narrative changed because of how good we were in the group, and just because our B team was as good as what their first team was. To me, that doesn't make a difference. We're that good because of how Klopp sets us up and how Klopp how our team is well drilled and how the second string is well drilled. They can come in and put performances in like that. If we'd have played that team in all 6 games, we probably wouldn't have came away with 18 points. But the fact of the matter is, it was a game where they could go and enjoy themselves. It didn't really matter if we got beat, so there was no pressure on them at all. They just played with freedom, and it showed. They were immense to a man.
What I do like about Cundy though is he makes no bones about it that he loves Chelsea and therefore he hates Liverpool because of all the rivalry we had in 2004 and all that, and he plays to it. But I like that. I like that he's not trying to be Mr. neutral
on the fence.
Yeah, because we hate them, you know what I mean? And we hate United and all that. And you say that's how fans act, isn't it? And he's just being what he's probably like in his normal life. And he does play to it. you can't see his face, but you can imagine he's got a little sly grin while he's saying it, a little spark on his eye. And I don't mind it. I don't take offence as many Reds do. He's hated by Reds, comes he? But he's having a laugh, isn't he? I don't mind him.
They do that. Judgy made the point in the group that the TalkSport presenters do that purposely to get a rise and to get people listening and to get clicks on social media and things. So you take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, it's great that they're clicking on our page instead of theirs, though. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go on.
I was going to say, just to sum up, Gary, we look the strength in depth. I was going to say before, we look in a good place to do special things. And I think, I was going to say, Klopp doesn't need it, but wouldn't it really crown off his legacy with a double? I think it'd be really nice for him to have a double.
Even nicer to have a treble, but yeah, the double would do. But yeah, I think I just say they're looking at our team and our squad. You're going into the draw for the round of 16 in the Champions League. Not a single team there is going to want to draw Liverpool. You'll see whoever does draw us, whoever's at the draw representing them, the heads will drop because they'll be gutted.
Okay, all right, Gary. Do
you think I mean, I'm going to say, I can't say, do you think can you win it? Because I know you're going to say yeah, but do you honestly think this year you'll win that?
I mean, you can't.
It's hard to say that we will win it, but I don't see why we couldn't.
As good a chance as anyone, and I think
better chance than most.
Better chance than City. I think that Liverpool's success is making Pep look bad in Europe, isn't it?
You think you got a better chance of winning the Champions League than City?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, all day, yeah. City haven't got what it takes in Europe, have they?
All right, okay, we'll see about that. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I agree with the whole, the way your players approach games. Like, for instance, I watched City's second string teams. They're playing in the early kickoff last night where I wasn't as busy. And they just looked like they couldn't be asked. And it was like, at times when he does pick a team like that, and it was a strong team, by the way, it was a lot of second string players, but it was a strong team. And on paper, their second string side is well better than yours, but the way they approach the game and the attitude and application was nowhere near what your players put in. I think that is the difference, but I'm not sure that's going to be the difference when it gets to the business end, in my opinion. But we'll see. Okay, well, moving on to Monday's game then, Mick. I'm going to bring you in first, obviously. Again, appreciate you coming on. It was a massive night for not only Everton in terms of the league position, but for Rafael Benitez. The run of results meant that regardless of what fans thought about him, he was under pressure. There's no doubt about it. We got the win. What did you take from the game? And obviously, just to I want to address it as well. You guys were behind the protest. Talk to us a little bit about that and again, what we took from that.
Yeah, it was a massive night for Rafa Benitez, the fans, the players, and the board. Before the game, obviously, there was a lot of apprehension, wasn't there, regarding will people get up out of their seat? Won't they? Who's going to stay? Who's going to not? Do you leave the ground? Do you go down to the concourse for a few minutes? So that it almost took the game to a different level for me. I think a lot of fans started to think, this is more than a game of football here. This is almost about the future of Everton Football Club. So that was really interesting. I think people kind of took their eye off the actual game until the 27th minute, if I'm honest. I don't know what you thought, mate, but I personally did. Once it got to about 20 minutes, I was clock watching. I got up off my seat. Quite a lot of people didn't, as we probably envisaged. I got off my seat, went down to get a cup of tea, and then came back up because I do want better. That's my opinion. A View from the Bullins kind of backed that as well as a podcast. We kind of stood by a lot of the supporters groups and said, yeah, you know what, we demand better. And by wanting better, we want the club to communicate with the fans. I'm sure Gary, Phil and yourself, we've all seen what Aston Villa have done. They've come out and spoke to their fans and given them a vision, a plan, under 23s and so forth. So I think that's the bare minimum that we should expect as Blues, Judgy, if I'm honest with you, mate. Yeah. But after that, I think the whole atmosphere at Goodison Park changed. I don't know what you thought, but the minute that 27th minute went, it was a completely different place, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And even on the 27th minute, like you say, there were fans that thought indifferently about where they stood on getting up and going downstairs. But the main thing, and you articulate it really well there, Mick, to be fair. And the only thing I would say about I don't want to say the PR around the protest, but it probably was. I don't think it was articulated as well as you've just put it then. I think the communication from the club has been poor for a long time. And you've got to go right to the top to get that right. The board and the makeup of the boards has been scatty at best for a long time. And the various people who make up that board, 90% of them, you don't know what they do.
The departure of Brands didn't help either. Obviously,
no.
That created more questions than answers for a lot of Evertonians. But I respect anyone that didn't get off their seat. I respected people that left the ground, people that went down for a coffee and came back up. Everyone has their own reason for why they did or they didn't. But I think ultimately, as the 27th minute came, like you said, it was probably the most united I've seen the fan base for a number of years. I don't know if you thought the same.
Absolutely, that was exactly what I was going to come on to then. Wherever you stood on it, the fans were making it, whether it was by vocally doing it, by singing, and I haven't heard the ground that loud and that, kind of passionate for it for a while.
Well, I was going to say then, watching it on the telly, there was a noticeable increase in volume when that 27 minutes went up. It was instantly, there was a lot more singing, a lot more shouting, a lot more noise you could hear just from the telly.
The players responded to it. The players responded. There's no doubt about that. I mean, some of them did from the first whistle. I mean, Ben Godfrey, however many cans of Red Bull he had before that game, he was proper wound up. But there were some players, I think, who knew the magnitude of that game, who knew that their reputations were on the line based on the recent run, based on the performance in the derby, and they made sure that the fans knew in no uncertain terms where they stood. But I think some of the players were almost looking at the clock, thinking, what's going to happen at 27 minutes? They're not daft at all on social media. I think a lot of the boards were thinking the same. But like you say, I haven't witnessed our fan base as united as that. And the reaction then came from the players.
I fully agree. Like I say, you don't want it to be a sideshow because it was an absolute huge game for Everton, obviously, to try and get 3 points. But I think most importantly, whether you did or you didn't get off your seat, it did what it was supposed to do. It created PR. It was on Sky Sports. It was on TalkSport. It was in the Echo. It was in the Athletic. You guys have spoke about it. We've spoke about it. So it served a purpose and it did its job. It's raised awareness and it's got some questions asked to the board and it's probably put them in a difficult position. But what was so pleasing was, like you say, once that 27th minute went and it passed, I thought the fan base were really, really united. It was probably the best atmosphere I've seen for over 5 years at Goodison.
It was. I mean, I said that in our instant match reaction, which is still available. I said that. I had no voice. So we done it right outside the park end. You could still hear singing in the background. And I haven't felt that good after the game for a while. Just simply, I mean, we've been saying it. You guys have been saying in your podcast that all we ask for, and most fan bases are like this, all we ask for is application and the players to put the necks on the line and to be covering every blade of grass and to see them. And you're seeing it visibly on the pitch. They're wanting to come over to the fans, but they're all lying on the floor and sitting on the floor and stretching their hammies and all that because they literally left everything out there. And that's what it's for.
It is. It's not hard to get the Goodison Park fans behind you, in my opinion. It's really not hard. Be on the front foot, get up the pitch, win your battles, get it stuck in. Kick someone. It's literally as simple as that. As funny as that sounds, Everton fans appreciate that. And a lot of the hardcore fans in English football, they appreciate that. If you just work hard and show the right attitude, good application, even if you're not a very good player, they will back you regardless because they'll say, you know what, he's fighting for the badge. And
Ferguson's a hero when he was crap.
But do you know what? Do you know who epitomises it? Is Andros Townsend. Technically, he's not a fantastic player. He's probably past his best. But do you know what? The way he conducts himself on and off the pitch, the effort he puts in, no one will ever criticise him if he has a bad game because you'll just go, well, he gives it everything, so how can you criticise a player?
Yeah, that's spot on, mate. And Anthony Gordon, I mean, you get extra grace as a young player anyway, but again, one thing that kid gives, and he even leaving the pitch, he's giving it 100%. He's sprinting off the pitch, but he recognises that he's a blue through and through. But again, the same. I'm almost of the same opinion of Anthony Gordon. I'm not sure he's going to be at the level. I hope he is. Do you know what I mean?
I just feel he needs a goal.
He needs a goal. Of course, confidence is a massive thing. Listen, that is definitely a different conversation. But at the moment, I'd never ever knock the lad because he gives it everything, and he's learning. You can see he's learning the game. He's getting better defensively. But no, I completely agree with you on Townsend. Just before we move on, because we are going to go on to some of the questions and preview in the next game. Obviously, the notable omission from the side was Luca Digne from the squad altogether. We've seen some comments and we spoke off air about, Luca Digne's position. My opinion leaving it, and it's changed slightly over the course of the past few days, that he might be someone who's hung out to dry in January and maybe used to try and get a little bit of funds into the coffers for Benitez to spend. What's your take on that?
It's an interesting one. Obviously Luca Digne's only recently just signed a new contract as of last year, and by all accounts, a big person in that contract negotiations was Marcel Brands himself. So obviously with Marcel Brands leaving, by all accounts, it now sounds like Luca Digne doesn't have that ally in the camp. Luca Digne has made it quite vocal behind the scenes that he's not really happy with the way he's being asked to play. He's having to play quite a defensive role, as you'll probably see, Judgy. He's not getting forward as much as he used to under previous managers. And by all accounts, he's obviously been quite vocal in the dressing room and on the training pitch about that he wants to kind of have that more attacking option rather than having to play a deep line left back. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? And I think, the Reds will agree as well. Benitez is a little bit like Mourinho. If you don't toe the party line, you're in big trouble. And it sounds like Luca Digne hasn't toed the party line and has maybe spoken out. And according to The Athletic today, he spoke out in Spanish towards Rafa, and they've had a conversation in Spanish in front of the rest of the squad on the training pitch, and Rafa's then banished him. So it's going to be difficult, isn't it? Because like I say, Rafa's stubborn, he's old school, and he's a lot like Mourinho. If you don't toe that party line, you're in big trouble. So unless they kiss and make up, it could be Luca Digne could be on his way out.
Well, he's tried to kiss and make up a little bit, hasn't he, over social media today, saying, don't believe all you hear, it's all about the club and stuff like that. And they're obviously encouraging comments. You can, for once, I was saying in the group to some of my Everton mates today, for once the club have at least got it right and they've got him tied down to a long-term contract. And anyone who does want to take him, we can be bullish and go, okay, well, you're going to have to pay what we think he's worth. But it's definitely one to keep an eye on.
He needs to keep his head down as well, because he needs to be playing, doesn't he, to get into the World Cup squad for France. So he's in no position to kick off a fuss too much. He needs to be playing. So it's going to be interesting.
It's a good point. And let's be honest, and I'm sure you won't disagree with this. He hasn't been playing well enough anyway. Whether he's been going forwards under Carlo Ancelotti, or in the position he's been under Benitez, I don't think he's been in any kind of form for the best part of a year or so.
I agree. I think, we speak about senior professionals at Everton in the bad run of form that we've had. We've been asking for Luca Digne to step up for the last 6 months minimum, and he hasn't really stepped up. Attacking-wise, his crosses have been really poor. He's been taken off set pieces by Rafa, which has now been given to Townsend. So, yeah, he has needed to step up, and his form has been pretty poor considering the big contract he's on at Everton and obviously being a French international. But like I say, it's going to be really, really interesting over the next coming weeks, because you'd imagine if they are going to kiss and make up, it needs to be done soon. The longer it's left, the harder it gets.
And not least because of the fact that Ben Godfrey the other night, tore it up at left back, didn't he?
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was brilliant.
I'm not sure how long he can consider. I'm sure he can keep that up every game, and play at that pace. Certainly, I'm not sure he'll be able to stay on the pitch every game if he plays like that. But yeah,
he might not have been able to stay. He shouldn't have stayed on the pitch the other night either, really, should he?
I don't know. Do you mean the one where he kind of steps on
the right back?
Yeah, because he's obviously getting his foot back up, isn't he? And it looks bad.
Naughty, that. It was naughty.
I don't know. I don't think he's actually threw his leg out. If he has threw his leg out, he's been banned by now, because it's a kick it's violent conduct and it's a kick.
It's a tricky one. It's if you endanger the player's safety. That's the actual law. Has he endangered the player's safety? Maybe, but only he'll be able to answer whether he could or couldn't get out of the way. Do you know what I mean? Only he could probably answer that. I think it's a tough call, that one. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on, Gary. We've got a couple of questions from our viewers / listeners. I know Mick's just kind of answered one of them as well, so we'll just run over it.
It was from Nick Morris. He's a regular commenter. He said, "Question for the Blues and the Reds: do you think from knowing Benitez previously and how they've seemingly clashed, is this the end for Luca Digne?"
I mean, Nick just gave his...
Yeah, he basically covered that. I think I'd say from knowing Benitez, I think you're probably right in what you're saying. If Digne doesn't sort of get his head down now and show that he can get to grips with how Benitez wants him to play and he can follow instruction, Benitez will have no qualms in bombing him out. He's just not bothered. He'll want to get someone in who will do what he wants him to do. Because at the end of the day, Benitez is fighting for his job from day one coming in at Everton. So if he's got players who are against him from day one, who are going to try and be, the bad apple, so to speak, he's not going to want him. He's not going to want to try and stick with him just because he's, the last few years he's been a decent player for you. He wants players who are going to back his ideas and play for him. And if Dean's not going to be one, then he'll show him the door, and he'll thank him for it, because, as you said before, Judge, if he's tied down to a big deal, he'll get decent money for him, and it'll only help Benitez in finding someone who will back his ideas.
Well, the other thing is, I might be getting this wrong, and I'm certain I'm not. Benitez played Carragher for a number of years at left back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not averse to having a very tight, having 3 centre backs in his back line to give him that additional security, not only from outfield positions, but also in set plays. It's no secret that we've struggled from set plays. I don't know if you've noticed in recent weeks, Mick, but we've gone to a kind of partial man-to-man system now, where he's come away from his zonal mark and he's recognised that actually some of our bigger players do need to be locking onto a man. Yeah. That only helps him having a more defensive, bigger presence at left back. So I think that might be another thing that, regardless of how things pan out, might lead him to think, well, actually, it's not the worst thing in the world, me having a stronger defender at left back.
I think the players are going to have to realise, no matter how good you are, and Luca Dean on his days, he's a top class fullback. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yeah.
Rafa Benitez has more power at Everton than anyone right now, because Marcel Brands has gone. So Marcel Brands obviously looked after the first team. Well, that's on now Rafa Benitez. So Rafa Benitez has all the power and all the say, and that's what he wanted, and that's what he's now got. So in the meantime, like we've said, if players don't toe the party line, you're going to be in big trouble. So ideally, I think you'd agree, Judgy, we need Luca Dean back in the team as quickly as possible, because he is our best left back and he's our only natural left back on the books. Obviously, Nkunku's out on loan. So if we get one more injury to a defender, it's going to be who goes at left back. Godfrey goes in at centre half. If Mina's out and Holgate says he's getting injured,
he's Fabian's elf, wouldn't it?
That exactly, and that's it's not ideal, is it? I can see Gary laughing. So it's not ideal.
You can't rely on him for longer than a couple of games anyway. At the best of times,
exactly.
The only thing I'd say, Rafa, he might be authoritarian, he might be stubborn, but he's not stupid, and he'll know that what you're saying now as well. So I don't think he'll play it. I don't think he'll cut his nose off to spite his face. He is a very stubborn man, but he's not stupid.
I think he's shown who's boss. I think that's what it is. I'm the boss.
Yeah, and I think you've got to do that at certain points, haven't you? Especially, as you said before, Mick, if there's a World Cup round the corner, Luca Dean needs to play. And he'll know that, Benitez. He'll know that's part of his hand. So he's just showing him it, and Dean's got to make a decision now.
He's picking his fights, Rafa. Rafa he's not afraid to have a civil war in the camp, and he's obviously picking this fight, and at this right time, he's thought, I've had enough of this. Luca Dean's going to be the fight that I'm going to try and win. And he will win it, won't he? Because ultimately he's the manager. Luca's on a massive contract. Marcel Brands is no longer there. So Rafa has all the say. So Luca just needs to get his head down, get his head straight, come back and let his football do the talking.
Yeah, and what's helped him is the first game he's done it, he's won.
Exactly.
Massively.
Okay, another one which we've already answered was from Steve on the website, and he just asked, do the Reds think we can go on and win the Champions League this season? We basically went into that, and Phil was chatting doubles and everything, so I think that answers that question. Got one from, hi, this is a new listener. I can't see his name on this. I apologise, but he says, I'm a new follower and subscriber from last week. I've been listening to the extra show since. All very good. Curious to who both sides think the signing of the year is, the manager of the year, and the player of the year is to date this season. And he's given us his 3 options. He's gone for Gray for signing, Moyes for manager, and Salah for player.
Go on, Reds. We'll let you go first.
Okay, well, I think I'd probably go with Moyes for manager so far. He's probably the one who's overperforming the most. I think, a lot of Tuchel has done well, but probably par for the course for what his goals and expectations were. Same with Klopp, same with Reina. Same with
Pepe Reina on the brain, yeah.
Same with Pep. But so I'd go with Moyes. Salah's the best player in the world right now. So
on the manager one, I'd say just a shout out for Graham Potter, because I think Brighton are playing above and beyond what they expected as well. You know, they were in the top 4 for a long time. They've only recently stepped out and had a couple of bad results, but I think the way he's had Brighton playing, he deserves a mention in that shout as well. But yeah, I think what everything you've said about Moyes, you can't really argue.
I'd give Thomas Frank a good shout as well. Brentford on paper are probably, arguably, them and Norwich probably got the worst 2-11s on the pitch on paper. So to be sitting in 13th after 15 games, that's pretty remarkable for Brentford and their budget. So I think he's done a really good job.
Yeah, good shout.
With regards to the best signing, like Gray definitely has done really well. I can't think who else was in there really. I'm trying to rack my brain on the spot to think of.
I had a little look at at the transfers for the beginning of this season coming in, and the only other one you could really say that's made a huge impact has got to be Ronaldo. We said it off air before we started recording, and you know, although he hasn't been maybe what you'd expected him because of what he's used to doing, you know, Madrid and things like that, but he's still had a big impact on United. He's still got them vital goals and vital points. So I think if you were going to say Gray, you'd have to say Ronaldo.
It's definitely not Lukaku, is it? He hasn't tore things up.
He's been injured as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. Okay. I'll give him Gray until anyone comes up with something better.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying, me and Mick were saying off air, he's done well. Listen, it's been a very surprisingly effective addition to the squad. I mean, look, he's always had ability, Tamari Gray, and he had patches at Leicester. He's been more consistent already. I think it's fair to say with us than he has been at previous clubs. Even at Leverkusen last season, he was stringing one good performance along with 3 average or poor ones. So he's definitely improved. And he's weighed in with 5 goals, I think, so far, and out of those 5 goals, I think 4 of them have been match-winning goals or have got us points. So I suppose if you weigh the signing by the amount of points or the contribution to that
the cost, isn't it? The cost of the player.
It's the pound for pound signing, isn't it? You say obviously 1.5 million. If we'd have signed Gray for 15 or 20 million, you wouldn't have batted an eyelid now. You go, yeah, it's a good signing for 15, 20 million. So like you say, when it's only 1.5 million pound for pound, you weigh it up, you think it probably will be up there, one of the signings of the season, just because of the cost.
Yeah. Going back to the manager one, because I didn't really have a punt on that. Bruno Laga's done a good job at Wolves as well. I mean, you look at the start they started really slowly. Towards the end of the last season, they stunk the gaff out. They were starting to look like relegation fodder to a certain extent. He's obviously benefited from getting Jimenez back to fitness, but they found their identity again, and I thought that was a big job going in there. So I think he deserves a mention as well.
There's absolutely no argument about Salah, is there?
Did you lose me then?
Salah's definitely the best player so far.
Yeah. The Blues don't want to admit that.
No, I'll be honest. He's been unplayable, hasn't he? Let's be honest, Judgy. He's been unplayable, and when a player's on that sort of form, then you can't really argue with it. He's almost taken the league by storm, like Ronaldo did when Ronaldo was in his pomp. That's the level he's at the moment. You're winning games by himself. It's literally as simple as that. And when a player's at the top of his game like that, it doesn't matter who he plays for. You have to just admire it, don't you? Sometimes, and in the derby, a few times he got the ball and just little shimmies here and there, dropping the shoulder. It doesn't look much, but it's world class. And yeah, he's a big standout in the league at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I said that going into the derby. He's the player. Like you always seem to have one of them players. That's the annoying thing. Whether it's Torres or Gerrard or Suarez, there's always one player on the pitch who's just a little bit unplayable, regardless of how well we might turn up. And at the moment, yeah, you can't deny he's at a different level. So yeah, I've got no arguments with that. Okay, no, nice one for the question. Good little questions then. I like it when we can actually talk about it together and not be too opposing on it.
Is that the last one?
That basically wraps it up. Yeah, there is some others, but they're basically repeats of the questions we've already had.
Okay, we'll move on to the previews for this weekend. I know that obviously it's Steven Gerrard's coming back to Anfield, which is a massive occasion, I think, for him, and I suppose a bit of a weird moment for the club. It's like a dress rehearsal for your new manager.
If things go well at Villa, then I can't see any other outcome. If Klopp sticks to his his contract, and he goes in. I think it's 2024, is it 25? I think as long as Gerrard does well at Villa, and maybe gets them into the top 6, top 5, maybe wins a trophy in that time, I can't see any other outcome. I think he will be our next manager. But as far as this game goes, he's the enemy, isn't he? There's nothing else to it. We're going into that game. We need 3 points. We desperately want them. We're at home. We're not going to want to give up any sort of space on the pitch to their players, especially the team he's got, the way he's got them playing. It's only the City game they've dropped points in, and you can't really argue with how they're playing. They look a solid side again now, and yeah, I think it'll be tricky. I don't think we'll have it all our own way. He'll know. We've seen in the past. He's had plenty of conversations with Klopp. He'll know exactly how Klopp wants to line up, how we want to approach the game. And I do think it's going to be a tough game. But again, I think the way they've come up against City, you'll see. I'm hoping and I'm thinking you'll see that the clash will shine through for Liverpool. I think we will be the better team, and we will come out with the 3 points.
I think the interesting thing is when Gerrard took over Villa, they were quite leaky, and it looks to me the way that Gerrard's addressed that is he's gone compact, hasn't he? I notice he's forcing teams to create out wide. Done that to City, done that to everyone, and it really has tightened them up. But the thing is with Liverpool is that's kind of where our strengths lie, with the likes of Trent, Mane, Salah. So it's Gerrard will know that, and is he going to change the script? I think it's going to be really interesting, but if you try and play a bit differently, we have got threats through the middle, the way Thiago's playing at the moment, and Henderson and stuff like that. So it's a tough task for Gerrard at the weekend. But if he goes compact and gives us that room out wide, I think we'll have enough.
I just think the way we are at the moment, as everyone's looking at us and just seeing the strength and depth we've got, how good we are on the ball, how good we are in every game. We seem to manage every game well. I don't think it matters how we approach it. I do think we'll come away with the points. I think he's going to want to try and, as Judgy said there, like a dress rehearsal, he's going to want to try and impose himself on the game in terms of how he wants his team to play. So in that sense, he's not going to want to come and be defensive against us the way most teams do at Anfield. I don't think anyway. I think he's going to want to go and try and, not from minute one where he's going to come all out attack, go gung-ho, and just, that'll be suicide. We'd absolutely tear them apart if he'd done that. But I think they'll choose moments to go at us and try and get in our faces and make it difficult for our players to play. And I just think they're the moments where if we're on our game, when we're in possession of the ball, if we knock it round the way we know we can, that's where we'll open the gaps up and that's where we'll hit them.
I mean, I think our weakness this season has been in defence, although it looks a bit behind us now. And they have got some really, really good attacking players, some fast, wide men.
Yeah, well, we found that out a couple of seasons ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
They're absolutely stuffed.
Yeah, exactly. Wednesday, Ings and all that. So they've got good players, so we need to be on it. But the form that we're in the last few games since Arsenal, then I think we should be okay.
I think it's the set plays you want to worry about against these. That's what he'll do. As you say, he has got them organised, but you look at where a lot of the goals have come from since he's come in. They have been from set plays, and they've been fairly tight defending them, and that's probably at both ends. Well, not you've obviously scored your fair share of set plays yourselves, but it's certainly where your Achilles heel still is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if there is one, yeah. I mean, we conceded set piece against Milan, but I don't know, it was hard to analyse it really. It was a bit weird, wasn't it? Did you see it, Judgy, last night? He
just didn't attack the ball, did he? Minamino was just a bit he wasn't he?
Yeah. But no,
go on then, Phil, what do you think? Prediction?
Because it's at Anfield, I'm going to say 3-0. We score 3-0 every game, don't we? And the defence looks pretty tight now. So, yeah. 3-0.
I think it'll be a bit tougher than that. I'm going to go 2-1. I think we'll win, but it'll be a closer game.
Okay, cheers. So, Mick, big game and an equally tough fixture. Vieira's done a really good job at Palace in terms of making them harder to beat for one, but he's got the best out of the likes of Conor Gallagher. They've got Eze back now. Zaha's obviously always a threat. I think like Villa, they've with a new manager, he's got to put a stamp on the team really early, and I think it's a tough proposition.
Tough game. It's unpredictable, Crystal Palace, aren't they? And especially at Selhurst Park. It's a good atmosphere down there, but they haven't really lived up to the start of the season, to what they've shown. They've only won 2 in their last 11. Last 3, they've lost all 3. And in those 3, they lost at Leeds, lost at home to Villa. And if Everton are going to make a bit of a march up the table, if Villa are going there and winning and Leeds are beating them, that's Everton need to be going there and probably at least getting a draw. There's no point beating Arsenal at home if we're then going to go lose at Palace. So we have to back it up with a minimum of a point for me.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's very much. I mean, from what we believe, that's normally the message from Benitez going into any game is let's not concede, and at least we've got at least a point from the game. I think it's a good point in relation to the recent form. I feel like, I mean, they've been like this for a while, Palace, but they always seem to be at their best when they come up against a side that they're kind of coming there expecting to go and take the game to them and take the points. They got a result obviously against City. I think they get on against Chelsea as well.
I'm not sure about that one, actually.
Yeah, again, so I think it will be an
interesting... No, they lost 3-0 at Chelsea.
Okay, I'm not in there then. I think it'll be an interesting tactical battle, though, because I think, like you say there, I think a draw would be a decent result for us. We certainly don't want to get beat. And I actually think that's the best way to go and approach this Palace side under Vieira is don't kind of go too gung-ho or whatever and try and see what they've got and hit them on the counter, because that's when they're at the best, is when they're countering other sides. So
and they're quite a big team as well. They've got some good height in there. The likes of Benteke, Kiarte, Gay, Tompkins. They've got some big lads there. And Everton are. I know we spoke about the Reds being vulnerable from set pieces, but Everton are really vulnerable from set pieces. Yes. It's a real Achilles heel for us. So that is a concern. And obviously Zaha's still a good player. He's a worry, isn't he? Coming up against Coleman. A 33-year-old Coleman coming against Zaha, that's a big concern. But if we can go there and get a point, and then you got to look at blocks, haven't you? Blocks of fixtures. And I thought we beat Arsenal. If you can get a point at Palace, the next game's then Chelsea away. So that's probably a write-off. And then you got Leicester at home. So if you can get 4 points from the next 3, I think Rafa would be quite happy with that.
Yeah, I agree, and it's very much the direction I'm going in with me prediction as well. But I'm going to go to you first, Mick, and put you on the spot. Prediction.
Yeah, I think we'll score, but I think we'll concede as well. So I'm going to go 1-1.
Absolutely the same, mate. Same as me. Before we do move on, assuming that things are made well, would you like to see Luca Digne come back into the side the weekend?
Yeah. Ultimately, I would. Yeah, obviously, like we've said, there's no doubt about it. The Reds wouldn't want to see Robertson out for too long, would they? If he'd had a falling out with Klopp, you want to get him back in as quickly as possible. So we're a better team with Luca Digne in it. But if Luca Digne's head's not in it, then you have to trust your manager. No matter who the manager is, you have to trust him. If he then feels Godfrey's more ready and his head's in the game a bit more than Luca, then so be it. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. Everton are a better team with Luca Digne in it. So ideally, you want him back.
And in that case, then who makes it? Is it Godfrey back to centre back, or would you kind of reward Holgate for his slightly better performance against Arsenal?
No, I wouldn't, mate. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I'd be going with Keane and Godfrey with Dean at left back if they can, settle their differences. Yeah, Godfrey's a better defender than Holgate, and Michael Keane gives us the height without Mina there, so I think it has to be Keane and Godfrey.
Yeah, in fairness, we didn't really mention him much there, and as I say, we both done our own reactions to the game. But I thought he has a decent game, Keane, the other night, as good as I've seen him in a while. Which generally is when we defend in that manner. But yeah, both 1-1s from us too. Then just briefly to touch on our affiliates, Betmate. They give us a little fancy footy game that we play. I won last week. I won the ATP game.
It's a fix.
Yeah, I'm just going to say the money's going to charity because it's not right that. So I am going to donate the money to charity before I get irresponsible with it, which is not the intention of our games. But yeah, I wasn't even aware of it because, again, for the benefit of the listeners, it's a game where you can pick players from the Everton team, the Everton game and the Liverpool game, mix them up, and whoever gets the most points combined wins. And yeah, somehow I managed to get the win, but I was too engrossed in the Everton fixture to know until I got back. So was a great night all round. But our next show, we'll be having a little look at that in our Game On show. But massive thanks again to Mick from A View from the Bullens. And if you haven't already, please check out their podcast. Obviously, as the name suggests, they're an Everton podcast. So it's for the blue side or the red side, if you're that way inclined. But yeah, fantastic show and they're big supporters of ours and vice versa. So thanks again, Mick.
No, you're very welcome, lads.
Cheers, Mick.
And for everyone else, we'll catch you on Game On in our next episode. Thank you.